Hey, it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth on the experience of, I just want to say targets or supply, those people who have been essentially feeling like a victim to a malignant narcissist or a psychopath in their life. And that is the experience of apathy. Meaning without feeling. And it's important to understand the root of these experiences in life to really get at the bottom of it. Basically, to call it for what it is, see it for what it is, and become informed and learn about it so that you can move gracefully through this relationship wound. And it's very important to understand the connection of apathy in your life as it relates to a lack of empathy in a narcissist or a psychopath. One comment that I receive quite often from viewers is that they are stuck in a post-traumatic stress syndrome or an apathetic state where they can't shower for weeks, they can't eat, they can't leave the house, they're feeling terrified, they're in that fear space, but furthermore, they're in that apathy space. Apathy meaning without feeling. So I want to understand and really kind of go through what lack of empathy is, because it's very important. I think you'll see a connection here and how it's basically set forth certain wheels or patterns in your life, and that is due to a narcissist, malignant narcissist, or psychopathic lack of empathy for others, and how that reverberates, how that reflects, how that sets up a kind of like a pattern of feeling, thinking, self-talk, and then furthermore vision for your own life. And that is the lack of empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Share the feelings of another. So when you're in the state of someone who is having empathy for you, you don't feel really pain. You don't feel like your energy is being drained. You don't feel like someone is out to get you. You don't feel paranoid. You don't feel like you have to explain and justify yourself. You don't feel like you're on trial. You don't feel like things are such a struggle. Things tend to go with the flow because you are sharing a feeling. For example, if you were to be doing something that you love, going to an art museum, going to a botanical garden, going to a science museum, or going to a movie, and you're able to take it in, you're receiving and then sharing. That is the experience of empathy. It's very interesting to and important to understand the root of words. And empathy comes from the Greek M-E-M, meaning in, and pathos, P-A-T-H, which is feeling. Pathos is the word feeling, so path means in feeling. So you're in your feeling state, you're in your feeling body. And remember, human beings are sentient, meaning that they have the ability to feel. And this is a very large component of a lot of people's personality. Some, they're more in their mind, they're more intellectual, like, Howard Gardner, there's many different intelligence in life. But one of the most profound intelligences is interpersonal intelligence, which is the ability to understand yourself, and interpersonal intelligence, which is the ability to understand others or human behavior. So when we look at empathy or lack of empathy, just realize that the meaning of empathy is the ability to share and understand the feelings of another, and empath means in feeling. So it became then from the Greek origins in the early 19th century from empathia, the Greek empathia, and the German and Flugen, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which then basically metamorphosized into empathy in the earliest 20th century. So realize that this root origin came from the 1800s. So that is empathy, to be in feeling. And so if you are with somebody who is lacking in this quality to be in feeling and not able to share feelings, so you're going to not be able to have a feeling experience with these people. You're going to feel like something is missing, and you might not be able to identify what it is, because there might be an outward shell of charisma or talent or superiority which this person then presents in your life, in authority, and then you're kind of like going along with it. But furthermore, there's a gulf or a deficit that is created within you, and you're feeling like a sense of pain, abandonment, isolation, loneliness, grief, I'm not being loved. It becomes then this whole other experience of, suffering. And, we then experience the resultant apathy, which means a lack of feeling, a lack of interest, a lack of enthusiasm, or lack of concern. I have apathy for my life. I have apathy. I don't care what I do. I don't care what I wear. I don't care if I shower. I don't care what I eat. I don't care who I become. And then, I just don't care. This is another experience that I think that a lot of people who then feel, which then becomes, part and built into the post-traumatic stress syndrome and the complex PTSD, which is this lack of feeling, which comes from the French apathy, in the Latin and Greek apathetia, means without feeling. So meaning not, or without. The A means without. Pathos means feeling. Without feeling or suffering, basically. So as you can imagine, because you have maybe felt this deficit of feeling as an experience in the spectrum of personal relationships, interpersonal connection, interpersonal relationship with others, if you haven't had this feeling, as you can see, this will drive a whole depression, anxiety, self-doubt, if you have been deprived of this experience. So now it's very important to not only identify this lethargy or languor in you, which then becomes, oftentimes, part of the downside, or, people oftentimes experience fear or terror if you've been in a relationship with a psychopath, to then begin to remove this lack of feeling in your life and to identify it. Okay, I have apathy about this. This is, the root from this, and I'm now connecting that, and I'm now removing myself from that story or that experience in my life. I'm now giving myself new experiences to fill up that hole, fill up the void, fill up the well, fill up, my life bowl of cherries. I need to have some more cherry moments, basically fill up the bowl of your experience in life and begin to draw from that more so, because I really feel that this apathy is something that you need to first identify and then move, within, and then draw from that, the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex, which is the largest represented, it's 40% of the brain in humans, and it is this area which, begins to become enacted. If you've ever seen, Marines or Navy SEALs who go through their testing, they have to go through testings where they're deprived of air, they're underwater, and they have nothing but a tank, but then their superiors then take off their breathing tank while they're underwater, and then they have to think very quickly about how they're going to get that tank back on their on them, and then the breathing piece so that they can then breathe underwater. So they really initiate and instigate the connection with their prefrontal cortex, which is their ability to solve problems and look ahead, have a vision moving forward. So begin to really sort of get into and be comfortable with this ability of, I can plan, I can have in the future, and I can have a vision for my life, and I can, begin to have feeling and energy again. So do an intervention with yourself. If you're in that situation, where you've been so petrified, you're so stuck in a rut that you haven't showered for days, you haven't eaten well for months, you have been misgiven with your finances, or whatever it is, begin to take an action, begin to develop a little bit of self-care from the solar plexus, right in here, begin to develop some self-care and go, what, I got this, and begin to straighten out those apathetic areas in your life, which has most likely been set forth from the pre-aforementioned cause. It's peace and harmony with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.